to MCI after shooter at Stoneman Douglas High School, 5901 Pine Island Road.
People lost their lives.
Executions are relatively rare here in Arkansas. These will be the first in 12 years. Behind these walls in rural Arkansas, 7 men are preparing to die, all convicted of capital murder, all scheduled to be executed over an 11-day span starting Monday.
Oklahoma tonight with an execution that didn't go as planned.
A convicted killer from Oklahoma dies after a botched execution.
Death by hanging.
Death penalty. Yes, I believe in the death penalty.
The death penalty.
Guys, Michigan State should get the death penalty here. If not the death penalty now for Michigan State, then my question is, why have one at all? Michigan State should get it.
Death penalty in this country, we've seen significant problems. I think we do have to, as a society, ask ourselves some difficult and profound questions.
Let's talk about the death penalty.
Oregon's death penalty. We've had a moratorium since 2011, but the state still has the death penalty in its constitution and defends existing death sentences. And according to the Oregon Justice Resource Center, DAs still pursue new death sentences. And the center says there's a number of reasons you should commute the death sentences for those on death row to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Would you consider that?
So it's certainly under consideration, but here I have to be very upfront with Oregonians about where I am on the death penalty. I oppose the death penalty, and that's because both in Oregon and across the country, its implication, its use has been unjust and inequitable to a number of populations.
What makes capital punishment so controversial? The inhumanity of the act goes along with its irreversibility. Additionally, there is no proven facts that say the death penalty contains any type of deterrent factor. The other side argues that this method of punishment ensures that convicted criminals do not offend again, and it is a beneficial way for prosecutors in plea bargaining. If a criminal is charged of several counts of murder, it is said to be morally just to punish them in this fashion. In this video, I interviewed people of different ages and sexes to gain a different perspective on how people view capital punishment.
Do you know what capital punishment means?
Yes, I do know what it is.
I do.
Yes. It's the death penalty.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
No. No. Okay, so it's legally authorizing someone to be killed as punishment for a crime. Can you describe it?
It's when someone does a crime where I think it's when you have to be murdering someone or like doing it with the intent of killing someone. And then the government decides that you should have that same punishment.
Sure. So capital punishment is legally giving somebody or executing somebody based on a heinous crime.
Inflicting the death penalty based on harsh crimes and like the ability to instill an execution after crimes committed.
Describe capital punishment. I don't know, like by definition, just like some people have not the opportunity to die, but some people.
Capital punishment is when, oh God. It is when someone commits a crime and then they are punished for it by being killed. Is that right?
It's the form of justice where if convicted, you tend to get the death penalty.
Are you for or against capital punishment?
I'm really indifferent to it. There's a lot of good arguments and it's hard for me to make a decision. But I guess if I had to choose, I would probably be for it.
So that is very difficult. If the crime, in my opinion, is heinous enough, I believe it's up to the state to decide if it's an appropriate punishment. So there are cases where I feel that capital punishment fits the crime. So yes.
I think in some cases I'm for it, and other cases I'm not. It just depends on the crime that's committed.
Case by case scenario. So in some cases, yes, I think people deserve. It sounds sad, but yes, some people do deserve it. Some people don't, though. Case by case.
Against.
I am for.
I'm for it.
against?
I think I would allow it.
Why?
The government has the right to bring justice, and if someone kills someone, then the government should be able to kill them back.
It's barbaric.
Because I believe that if someone commits a crime like killing people, then they should be killed. They don't deserve to live.
I feel like it's probably the most ultimate version of justice that you can be handed if you commit a heinous act, a crime like that.
I don't know. I feel like if someone does something like really bad, I feel like them being in jail is like worse than them like dying, because then they're like out of their misery. Like jail is like really long and like painful.
So you would assume that someone who's in jail would like resent what they did because they're like sitting in there the entire time.
Yeah, the government action of killing a murderer is going against their word.
Just because it's kind of like you're kind of trading your life. Because if you kill someone, I think it's kind of you could like kind of like trade your life for them, kind of.
So you should, if you kill someone, you should be killed like
Yes.
as a response. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you considered botched executions, which has a 3.15% rate?
The botched executions are only 3% of it, or?
Yeah. So like out of all the executions, there's only 3% that have been botched.
I mean, I think that's a very low percentage. I know it's not like a good thing, but like 97% success rate is still pretty high, and obviously there should be work done to get that fixed. But I don't think it's like a crazy like big issue.
Do you think that is a moral or ethical kind of situation?
No, I do understand that, and I definitely feel that that's a problem. But I do also understand that you have a day in court, and you have to be convicted first, and then after convicted, you have another jury of 12 people to decide whether or not the death penalty fits the crime. So because of our process being so democratic, I feel like there's enough checks and balances within that to possibly make up for some of those statistics.
I mean, if you think about what the criminals committed, I think the last worry, if we still have the law that allows capital punishment, I think the last worry is about the pain and suffering, especially if they've caused pain and suffering.
I have, and I don't think that's very high.
Regardless of the botched executions, I feel like if you're still sentenced to capital punishment, you should still get it.
Not really.
No?
I
Okay.
just need to be a little more smarter.
How do we prevent the innocent from being punished unnecessarily?
I think we need to have probably a better law force, like lawyers who are trained on it. I think a lot of people, more than there should be at least, are assigned like federal lawyers and stuff like that because they can't afford it. And I think that those people aren't really as invested as like maybe a private lawyer would be, so I think we need to get more training on that.
Our Bill of Rights and our federal constitution, our state constitution, does allow people right to an attorney, and then we also have an appellate process, so you can definitely appeal your case several times. There's different access points to the government, so you can appeal your case several times.
I mean, in cases of like misusing the death penalty, I think there needs to be heavier investigation, and you have to have a for sure case, and also there should be like a certain point at where it's not like the death penalty, but instead just life in prison or something like that.
Jeez. Maybe we should make sure that our government system is being thorough through the investigation and asking the right questions and making sure before we kill the person that we have the right people in this killing.
Well, there's usually a long period of time between the actual set date and the trial, which leads to a lot of time of like new evidence to surface and investigators to find new things to find and stuff. So there is a good chance that if you are innocent, there will be new evidence surface that can get you out.
I'm not really sure. I mean, we could just try to get more evidence, but other than that, I don't know.
Who deserves the death penalty, and where is your limit?
I think if you ever had the intent and you attempted to kill someone, or if you did murder someone.
School shooters come to mind, you know, like we talked about in the Skype interview, you know, people who kill babies, but even then, I don't know if anybody has the right to play God or take somebody's life. And I think that if you don't believe in the death penalty, you don't believe in the death penalty. So I think 100% wholeheartedly don't believe in the death penalty.
I think that if you kill one person, then you deserve the death penalty. It should be an eye for an eye.
Honestly, anybody deserves a death penalty if they commit a malicious act bad enough.
They kill someone, I think they deserve it. If they kill more than one person, then definitely.
In your opinion, does the death penalty diminish crime?
What do you mean by that?
Like, does knowing that you would be killed for something of your actions, do you think that makes people less likely to commit crimes?
Yeah, of course. Hey, it's a deterrent, really.
I think that if it is done efficiently, then it can diminish crime, but as our government system now, we wait so long to kill, like as we read in Dick and Harry, they waited 6 years to kill them, which is so long, where I think that if they were killed within 6 months, it would have set example, we're not taking this, we're not going to stand for it, but 6 years, it just drags it on, and I think it makes the families hurt more.
I think you need consequences for actions, and I do think that this is a major consequence, so I hope it deters people from committing certain types of crimes.
Statistically, I don't know. In my opinion, does it diminish crime? I would say in theory, maybe it would scare people out of committing a crime, but I think that life without parole could be just as scary, so probably not.
I think it does. I think it makes people not want to because they don't want to die. Although I do feel that some people just don't care. There's some psychopaths out there who they don't care, so they'll keep doing whatever they want to do, regardless of the consequence.
I don't think so.
I think it probably will.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So if they have it on their mind, they just won't do it?
Yeah.
The Eighth Amendment bans the infliction of cruel and unusual punishment, which means that you can't torture anybody and punishments must fit the crimes. Could capital punishment be considered cruel and unusual punishment?
I think the wording of that is very subjective to how you read it. I think maybe it means cruel and unusual based on the crime. So a murder is already killing someone, so I don't think it's out of the question to be able to kill someone as a result of that.
I think that's up for the state to decide. I think there's 31 possibly states who do use the death penalty. So I think that's because of federalism. I think that's up to the state to decide. I think that throughout the years we've changed the way we utilize the death penalty, the means that we use, and I think that it's becoming more humane, although I understand that argument. The only other thing I would say is that recently there have been cases that challenge that issue, especially giving minors the death penalty, as well as people with different types of disabilities. And it is seen as cruel and unusual punishment to give that sentence to somebody who is a minor normally, as well as certain types of disabilities. So I do agree with those rulings.
Yes, especially if the person receiving it doesn't understand.
It was cruel and unusual punishment for them to kill the families in the first place.
I don't think so.
How?
I think that the justice fits the crime, and that if you do something that bad, you deserve to get something. You deserve to die too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would happen if the death penalty was abolished?
I think if it were abolished, we would get a lot of life imprisonment without parole, and the prisoners would just take up more space. And I'm sure there would be less of, like I said before, there would be less of a deterrent to killing someone because you know that like you wouldn't have the same infliction put upon you.
We would have more people serving life in jail, but that would also take away the precedent of the 10th Amendment, which is powers reserved for the states to decide.
I think we could see more killing because I think that if we put them in jails, our jail systems could overflood and we had to build more, which then would cost taxpayers more money.
I honestly think the murder rates would increase. If there's no like consequence for an action, people are going to continue to do that action.
Like, I feel like people that are already like killing other people, like obviously they have to be pretty messed up. So I feel like if they have the death penalty, they won't really care. So I feel like maybe less crimes if it goes away.
I think there might be more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on their mind.
As seen in this video, the variety of beliefs of capital punishment differ greatly, each having solid reasons to prove their opinion. As we start to enter into a new decade, we have new opportunities to bring this controversial issue back into consideration. Each person is entitled to their own opinion of capital punishment, as this is a case where you can neither be wrong nor right.